Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And in this video, I wanted to give you guys a network update and a business update. So the network update is AT&T's Firstnet cell site launches in Penobscot County, Maine to support public safety. So as you may feel that AT&T is not as loud anymore, or you don't hear anything about their coverage expanding, best believe it's still expanding in the background due to Firstnet. That is a massive contract, very important. More agencies are signing up every day, so they have to continue expanding the network. They can't slow down. They just can't. They have to continue expanding the network to get it to where, one, they want to get it all native. They no longer want to be reliant on roaming, which is good because first responders need that priority, and I don't know if they can gain that priority access using roaming. The answer is likely no on that, but they want to get it to all roaming is gone, and they want to go 100% native coverage. So they have to continue expanding that coverage. And like I said, even though you may not hear it, it's happening in the background. Trust me, it's happening. Colorado is getting massive expansion. Nebraska is massively expanding. Just areas that AT&T hasn't previously had much coverage, or it's roaming. Be expecting AT&T to natively enter that area and bring its native coverage to those areas using band 14 and, of course, to other bands. And yes, consumers will have access to this coverage. So next, just a brief update on the business side, and then, of course, a little bit more network as well. Stanky spoke recently with Yahoo Finance for about 40 minutes, and it was a very interesting take from Stanky. He said it was time to unleash the media assets. I know I said in previous videos that HBO Max was the secret sauce, so to speak, that it would really push AT&T to revenue and profit levels that the other carriers may not be able to get to because they don't have such asset. But yet AT&T went ahead and, they're going to merge it and spin it off. So it's like some have told me, like, now what? Now AT&T is really going to be reliant on wireless because fiber is a tedious process. Yes, it's growing on a yearly basis, but to get it to, say, a size of what T-Mobile can cover with its fixed wireless today, it's going to take AT&T several more years of laying fiber in the ground, getting that last mile to the home done to get to that type of size. And today, T-Mobile is doing 60 million households business, and I think it's 30 million consumer that they're touching with fixed wireless. For AT&T to get to 30 million households covered with fiber, it's going to take them until 2025. So that's a tedious, lengthy process to get there. It's an investment upfront, and it's a lot of groundwork. A lot of contractors have to be hired. Will they get there? Yes. Each year they'll gain more, but like I said, it's a tedious process with a very heavy investment. So short, midterm, from now until 25, they have to be reliant on wireless, which they were reliant on that anyway. It was a huge part of their revenue intake, profits. It all comes from wireless. That's the roots of the company. So now they have momentum in wireless. Now they're going to accelerate it. Once that merger closes with Time Warner and Discovery, more funding becomes available. It's like opening up the floodgates. They're going to invest very aggressively. Why do they invest aggressively at this point? A lot of people are asking me. Their network's already large. They've already invested a pretty good chunk of money up until this point. Well, unlike Verizon, AT&T has to actually densify to a material degree. They will have to. They dropped the ball on that during the LTE era. Randall Stevenson wasn't really involved and prioritized wireless too much. He had his mindset on the media purchases that he ended up making with DirecTV and Time Warner. So there wasn't a lot of funding going towards wireless as we're going to see now. So they will have to materially densify. They're the company that will have to densify the most aggressive out of all three, or two, I should say. So T-Mobile is dense enough, they say. Verizon says they're dense enough. AT&T, they will have to materially densify, and the capex is showing you that. They're massively investing after fiber. Let's say we're being conservative. Let's say they spend $4 billion on fiber per all year. That'll still leave $20 billion going into wireless, which is massive. The network is already at the size and growing now. So that I don't foresee that accelerating too much with the higher capex, because the network is already very large now. And what we're going to see by the end of this year, from what I'm seeing internally, is going to be a massive build out happening this year, still under the current capex. So a lot of that 20 billion is going to go towards densification. In the top 20 markets, it's going to be massive. There's going to be different tiers and tags that are being placed on these cities, and they're going to explode. And from what I've seen, some of those plans already, and it's massive. Some of these cities are going to require 1 to 2 billion just the city alone, as to what AT&T wants to accomplish in those cities. And that's a mix of C-RAN and more macros, of course, and then of course a certain percentile of completion of C-band. So they're going to get very aggressive, but they're late. They are late to the densification. They're going to be less aggressive on C-band because they're doing heavy densification. They have to really densify to a material degree. I've let you guys know that in previous videos, even backtracking a year ago. So they'll be busy doing that. And Stanky knows it's very capital intensive, and it would have been very hard for them to scale to that kind of densification and still do media. It just wasn't going to work. So they're letting go of media once and for all. DirecTV's gone, all the TV portion, media's gone now. Now they can focus on wireless, really pour money into 5G, keep up with the competition. He did say in the video, he said T-Mobile has the capacity advantage. He said that. He stated it. And that's big. He didn't mention Verizon. He mentioned T-Mobile specifically. He says they have the capacity advantage on spectrum, but he says they'll have infrastructure that they're going to put in place to offset that capacity. So it seems they're taking that Verizon approach, what Verizon did during LTE. They didn't buy spectrum. They built small cells and macros to keep their network flowing smooth and keep the capacity up high, as high as they could get it per certain radius. They put cell sites and small cells to offload other small cells and sectors to keep the traffic flowing smooth. Now it seems AT&T has taken that same approach on 5G. They're like, yeah, we have less spectrum, less capacity, but wherever T-Mobile can do 800 megabits per second from a macro, we'll put 10 or 15 C-RAN in that same neighborhood to mimic that same type of capacity. And as crazy as it is to say, this fits right into T-Mobile's plan. This is what they were anticipating 100%. This is why they said AT&T is about to spend more money and Verizon's about to spend more money. They put a big price tag on C-band. Now they have to spend to deploy. And that's exactly what they're doing. And to keep up with, maybe the capacity side of it, they have to deploy even more densification because they have less spectrum right now. Are they going to purchase more spectrum? Remains to be seen. In auction 110, per the rules now, there's only 40 megahertz up for grabs. You can't buy more than that. Another 40 would help AT&T, but T-Mobile, if they can get 2.5 contiguous, they got C-band too, not nationwide, but they got it in some markets up to 40 megahertz. They got millimeter wave too. So T-Mobile can play that game as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how much densification goes into AT&T's network. Within the top 20, 50 markets, you know, they all fall within the top 46 PEAs. I'm sure AT&T is going to go bananas in those markets. Outside of those markets where they have less market share, that becomes very questionable if they're going to densify that heavily in a market like, say, El Paso, where the postpaid market share is very low. It's about 12%. Are they going to invest that type of money to densify the network to offset the capacity that T-Mobile has, where T-Mobile has 53% market share in this market? There's really no return on investment for that type of investment for AT&T. If they do it, I think they break it down over a certain amount of years. It's not going to be all that in one shot like like we're going to see in Chicago or New York. Maybe they say, okay, we're going to do $1 billion, but we're going to break it down over 10 years to kind of see, okay, we're going to add this amount of sites and small cells per year. And then we're going to see, okay, can we actually grow the market? So that's kind of what they're going to see. They're going to play it out, I think, in the markets that fall outside of the top 46. I checked the listing. El Paso's like 72nd in the PEA counts. So not too far off, but also not close. So it remains to be seen. And they haven't been really competitive here. And there's other markets where AT&T isn't really competitive either in terms of the share that they have. So Phoenix is another one. Phoenix is weird because they have less share, but they built a crazy capacitive network, likely because it's a bigger market and they can compete there because there's so many people to pull from. But like I said, it remains to be seen. So that's just the update I wanted to give you guys. More coverage coming. C-band on the way. More spending in the second half of next year if the merger closes. So we'll see what happens. But right now, I think AT&T is still going to be a wait-and-see approach. We'll get some investment this year, not as much as we're going to see with the $24 billion capex. By the way, that's an annual run rate. So after the merger closes, they are anticipated to spend $24 billion on a yearly basis. So just keep that in mind. That's a very aggressive target. That's somewhere around $72 billion over a 3-year period. That's a pretty massive investment. So just to put that in perspective, they spent $140 billion, I believe, over a 5-year period during LTE. They're going to do $72 billion in 3. So that's a pretty big investment. So if you have been on the channel or you're new to the channel and you have not yet liked, share, subscribed, make sure you do so. Hit the notification bell so you are notified when I do upload content. Make sure to follow the social media outlets for more updates and interactions. Thanks again for watching. This is Tyrone with Tech Life. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.